Welcome to week 27 predictions of the Premier League. There are 10 games to predict, so I'm gonna predict them. All coming up in just a little mo. Starting at the MX Stadium, it's Brighton and Hove Albion versus AFC Bournemouth. Now I feel like all the way down to where Everton are in 14th, all the way to 3rd with Nottingham Forest. That's right. I know there is still a decent points gap, but I would say if any of those teams get played against each other, it could literally go either way a lot of the time. Because if you look at it, there's only 4 points separating Brighton and Bournemouth. Bournemouth are in 5th, Brighton are in 9th. This could go either way. And there have been barely any draws in the Premier League in recent time. And Brighton, I've been really impressed with. Look at this. They lost 7-0 to Nottingham Forest, but won 2-1 in the Cup against Chelsea, won 3-0 against Chelsea, won 4-0 against Southampton. That is amazing. And overall, like I said, there's barely any draws. You're going to have to go for either team. You can't go for a draw in this game. I think they're so tightly matched, it's too hard to actually predict. I have to admit, I don't agree with that red card by Zabanya, as he did win the ball and he didn't have any bad intentions. I think at most it should have been a yellow card, but red card I don't agree with. And Bournemouth are unlucky, but Wolves still play better than them, and I'm gonna go Brighton in this. Like I said, there's barely anything separating them. I'm going 3-1 to Brighton and Hove Albion, as I feel like Brighton, they are gonna have a load of confidence with all the wins that they've had. And with Jorginho Rutter playing like he is, and with Yankuba Minta starting to play, that linkage as well with Mitoma will hurt Bournemouth's defence, especially if Bournemouth can't win against Wolves. Then I definitely think Brighton can give it a good go. Moving over to Selhurst Park, it's Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa. And I was impressed with Aston Villa. They beat Chelsea, and Marcus Rashford is really showing what he's all about, isn't he? You can definitely tell the difference between him at Aston Villa and him at Manchester United. Brilliant. Him and Asensio worked really well. He got 2 assists. Asensio got 2 goals. He looks really good. And Aston Villa, I think, can win this. I'm confident. I was talking about how I thought Aston Villa were doing terribly, right? But in the transfer market, they've done brilliant stuff. I trust Aston Villa's recruitment team, is what I said. And their recruitment team has done well with Asensio, Rashford, bringing in Milan, and all the other players. And I think they're going to be able to win this. That is right. Although, I can't do that. Crystal Palace consistently looks brilliant. Other than the first 9 games, which I still felt like they probably deserved more points in the first 9 games, they still look good. Look at Mateta, brilliant. Look at Crystal Palace, they've got a great foundation in the defence. I've been really impressed with their defence. They got another clean sheet against Fulham. And I'm saying this now, Fulham were doing really well. I can't split the sides. I am going to go for a draw on this one. 1-1 between the sides. I was tempted to go Aston Villa, but still, it's very hard to split them. To the Molyneux Stadium, Wolverhampton Wanderers versus the Cottagers. And Wolves, they deserve those 3 points against Bournemouth. Because throughout the entire year, they're getting games where they lose or draw, where they deserve a win or a draw. I felt like they deserve that because they've been very unlucky this season. And I don't see Fulham getting all 3 points in this one because I can't split the sides. I know there's been barely any draws, but I can't split the sides in this one. Wolves did really well against Bournemouth to get 3 points. Wolves almost got a point against Liverpool and played better than Liverpool and were dominant against Liverpool in the second half. I think there's going to be an end-to-end game, but lead into the middle to a 1-1 draw between Wolves and Fulham. I was really impressed with Wolves, and that's probably given me the urge to go for a draw. And also Fulham did lose to Crystal Palace, so that also puts me over the edge to give Wolves a point. Over to Stamford Bridge, Chelsea versus Southampton. Southampton, I backed you up in terms of just to get a goal. Just a goal. I predicted 4-1 to Brighton. You could have just scored 1 goal, but you didn't. Awful. Absolutely shambolic. 3-0 Chelsea. I know Chelsea are doing terrible, but surely they cannot do terrible against Southampton. Sorry if you're a Southampton fan, but you're gonna have to admit, you're not doing well. To the G-Tech Community Stadium, Brentford versus Everton. Now this one's really going to be interesting. Everton have now come into the mixer and are doing brilliantly. The one thing I've seen from David Moyes' change from Sean Dyche, now I have finally seen a change, specifically in that Man United game, is how well organised they are. They look more lively and energetic. When they're pressing, they are pressing in an organised manner. And they made Man United poo their little pants to panic, to give away the ball multiple times in their own half. And that's brilliant. The high press. And David Moyes, evidently have changed it up. Everton are changing. Brentford, you did brilliant against Leicester. Your attack is brilliant. But if Spuds can get a clean sheet, then I think Everton can in this game. I thought they were unlucky not to get all 3 points against Man United. And overall, there were 7 away wins last week. And if you've been watching my previous prediction videos, you know I've been looking into the amount of away wins that have been happening, and it is more than normal. So I'm going to give that a benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to go 2-0 to Everton. Also, not just that, Beto is now scoring goals consistently for quite a few games. I think this is it. Everton are finally scoring. This is a monumental moment for Everton. But Brentford, you're going to play well, but you're not playing Everton at the right moment. So 2-0 Everton. To Old Trafford, it's Manchester United versus Ipswich Town. And Ipswich, against Tottenham, you did lose at 4-1, but Kieran McKenna did say that you managed to get into better opportunities than Tottenham. More often, that is. And that's the same case against Southampton. You got into better positions. You made really good runs. You made plenty of chances, plenty of shots. But you still lost to Southampton. You still lost to Tottenham. And you're in the relegation zone. And I do have to admit, out of all the teams that are currently in the relegation zone, you look the best. But you're still not getting the points over the line. If I were to compare Ipswich to Leicester City, Southampton, and Luton Town, Burnley and Sheffield United, when they were actually in the Premier League, I would say Ipswich looked the best. But they're not getting the results over the line. But Man United, I mean, they were awful in the last game. I'm just not convinced by Man United to say that they can win this game. I'm not convinced. Tottenham are actually changing something, and they're getting their players back from injury. I know Man United have got a lot of injuries, and that's going to be one of my reasons to why I feel like Ipswich can get at least a point in this game, because they've got a few injuries. Man United, I just feel like Rasmus Højlund, he's just in a world of his own. It feels like Man United are relying on Højlund to just 1v5 the oppositions. It's not just against Everton, it's against multiple games throughout the entire season. Højlund is always on his own, in his own isolated area. Man United aren't doing good enough. They're not fast enough when passing the ball. They look slow sometimes going forward. It was a good goal by Ugarte, but it was an unconvincing draw. They probably deserved to lose that game. I'm sorry, Manchester United. I'm surprisingly going 2-1 to Ipswich Town. Look, I've just not been convinced of Man United. I think it's going to be a really close end-to-end game, but Ipswich looks like they are due a win in terms of when I see them play. The way they make chances still looks really good. The runs that they make, I feel like will really hurt Man United, especially if they leave the amount of gaps that they did against Everton, because my God, they left a lot of gaps open against Everton in the defence. Over to one of the biggest games of the week. It's at the City Ground. It's Nottingham Forest versus the Gunners. Obviously, the Gunners are missing a lot of players due to injury. Mikel Arteta is trying to play Michael Moreno up front. Didn't work. Scored 0 goals against West Ham. I mean, the problem is they should have signed a striker. I'm really trying to think. Can one of you in the comments tell me why Arsenal didn't sign a striker? I genuinely do not know. Do they not have enough money? Does Mikel Arteta think you don't need a striker? Is the recruitment team just terrible? What is it? Because only they need one if they're playing a central midfielder or like a CDM and striker. And the fact they scored 0 goals. Is it over for Arsenal in the title? I'm saying no. There's still a chance. I've seen Liverpool blip up quite a few times in recent time, but you have to be thinking they're gonna have to sort out something in the striker positions. And by the way, they got another red card. I'm pretty sure they got the most red cards out of any team in the Premier League. And that's also cost them a lot of points, not just the striker position and scoring goals. It is the amount of red cards that they have. Probably lost them a good 5 or 6 points in the league. And facing Forest, it's going to be tough. But I do have to admit, Arsenal have only blipped up against West Ham here, where Nottingham Forest have blipped up in multiple games where I thought they didn't play well. Fulham deserved to be more than 2-1. They got battered against Bournemouth. Yes, they battered Brighton, but they haven't been convincing after that Brighton battering and after losing to Bournemouth, because they lost to Fulham, they lost to Newcastle. Check out my match reaction up here. But it was a game of two halves against Newcastle. They dominated the second half, Newcastle dominated the first. But if you look at it, all Arsenal have to do is make it so Chris Wood gets 0 shots. I know Nottingham Forest scored 3 goals, but that's down to really bad defending by Newcastle and giving away the ball really easily. And I don't think Arsenal is going to do that because they keep their games quite tight and quite low scoring. So I don't see any more than 3 goals going in this game. And Nottingham Forest, as I was saying, they need Chris Wood to work their system. And Arsenal have got one of the best defences in the Premier League. So if they isolate Chris Wood in an area where he can't shoot, I think Arsenal can win this. Also, Nottingham Forest, your defending was really concerning, and Matt Sells in goal was also really concerning. He did not have a good game. So considering you conceded 4 goals against Newcastle, considering you're conceding more now, and teams are kind of finding out how Nottingham Forest are playing and how to counteract them, and the fact that the way they play allows more chances in, even though Arsenal got many attackers missing, I think they're going to win this 2-1 to Arsenal. There's going to be a reaction, and I genuinely think if Arsenal don't win this and Liverpool win the league title. Sorry, Nottingham Forest, but I would 100% go for you to win against Man City in next week. Predictions. But you have to win this to convince me that you're going to win against Man City. As I mentioned, Manchester City, we move over to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Tottenham Hotspur versus Manchester City. Tottenham have obviously got a really good record this season against Man City. Won in the Cup and battered them in the league. And Tottenham, you're really clinical. 1-4-1 against Ipswich Town. Game before, 1-1-0 against Manchester United. Game before, 1-2-0 against Brentford. That's Brentford we're talking about, and you got a clean sheet. That is amazing. And you only conceded 1 against Ipswich. Jed Spence is a brilliant player. The amount of runs he's going to offer against Man City is going to be crazy. And with him and now Son properly back taking on players is brilliant. Man City's going to struggle a bit, I think, against Tottenham, especially with how much confidence Tottenham's going to have, especially when a lot of players are coming back for Tottenham from injury. I'm sorry, Man City, but Liverpool's defence was too much for you. You may have had 16 shots compared to Liverpool's 8, but Liverpool outplayed you. But if you think about it, Man City, they were predictable against Liverpool. They lost it 2-0. I was wrong to say Man City could win. They got battered against Real Madrid in the Champions League. Haaland's injured. He might be back for this one. But even if he is, he might only be coming off from the bench and he might still be rusty. So for those reasons and for how Tottenham are playing, I'm sorry, Man City. I think you're going to get top 4, but you're not winning against Tottenham. I regret not going Liverpool's way. 4-2 to Tottenham Hotspur. It's going to be goals galore as Tottenham are back on track where their season should be, and they can easily hit a European spot. Now on to another big game of the week. It's at Anfield, Liverpool versus Newcastle United. Newcastle, what a first half, what a terrible second half. But let's take the positives. To be fair, it's quite mixed, and I'm a bit confuzzled about Newcastle on how well they're actually playing, because it was mixed in that game. 50% of the game, Newcastle looked like they could go and win the Premier League title playing like that. But then the other 50% looks like Newcastle are a mid-table average side. That's concerning. And also what's concerning is Newcastle lost 4-0 against Man City, but they also won 2-0 against Arsenal. What? Exactly. It confuzzles me, but last time these two teams met, my God, it was a close game. Newcastle could have easily won against Liverpool. It was 3-3 from memory, and it was such an entertaining game, and I think there's going to be a few goals again. But Newcastle, Alexander Isak is a multi-dimensional striker, and he is going to rip shreds against Liverpool's defence. Trust me, Newcastle are unpredictable on how they play, And in loads of their games, for the majority of the time throughout the entire season, it looks like each time they go on the attack that they're going to score. It was brilliant against Nottingham Forest. Still problems though, so I don't see Newcastle winning it. And the fact that they drew last time against Liverpool, I'm going to go for another draw. But more on Liverpool's terms, their defence was really good against Man City. Really disciplined defensive performance. And the thing is, each time Man City tried to break down Liverpool's defence, once they breaking through one barrier of Liverpool's defence, there was another barrier of Liverpool defences there. And they defended Man City really well, and they did really well. But to be honest, I do have to admit, like I said earlier on, Liverpool have been dropping points here and there, and in my opinion, there's been quite a close call, like against Wolves. Oh, and before I get onto the scoreline, one thing to also back me up in saying Newcastle can get a point is Lewis Hall. He was my man of the match against Nottingham Forest after he stopped so many counter-attacks of Nottingham Forest. And knowing how Liverpool counter-attack with Salah running in behind the defence at immense pace, Jota and all that, with Lewis Hall there, it's definitely going to weaken Liverpool's attack and give Newcastle a chance. So I'm going 2-2, a Desmond Tutu between Liverpool and Newcastle United. Come on, Newcastle. I'm hoping more than a draw. I'm hoping for a damn win. To London Stadium for the Thursday kickoff on the 27th of February. It's West Ham United versus Leicester City. Leicester City, 4-0. Not going good, Leicester City, is it really? Not at all. West Ham, on the other hand, may have just given Liverpool the Premier League title. But West Ham have been doing not brilliantly, but Graham Potter has finally got a win with West Ham. Now, obviously, he has already got a win against Fulham, but this felt like an even better win. Wan-Bissaka, not once, not twice, not thrice, loads of times, he ran down that wing. My God, he was brilliant against Arsenal. He got the assist for Jared Bowen, which is a great diving header. Jared Bowen seems to be scoring ever since he come back. James Ward-Prowse looked good as well, and he's back in the side. Don't know why he went in the first place. And overall, I'm really confident with West Ham. Last time these two teams met, Leicester did win it, but West Ham had like over 30 shots and never gave up, even when they were losing. And at the London Stadium, 3-1 to West Ham. West Ham just beat Arsenal. Leicester just lost to Brentford. Any more to say than a West Ham win? Surely. Now on to goal of the week. I'm going to give it to Munoz for Crystal Palace. It was a great dribble by Mateta, and that's what puts them ahead of all the other goals that I thought was great, because of a great dribbling run. And from the angle that it was an absolute powerful shot and a great goal. But how did I do in game week 26? Well, I got 4 points out of 22 points. I've got no fancy graphic there that I normally do, and I've got no fancy predictions also. My God, I'm 100% sure this year is more unpredictable than any of the years. Anyway, that puts me on 136 points out of 522 points. Not amazing, but one thing that is amazing is this next video that I'm going to punch you to. If you want to see more of my in-depth look between Newcastle and Nottingham Forest, you can see 2 of the videos next. So, have a nice day. Toodle pip!